So welcome everybody, it's Gihan Pereira here. This is my last public online presentation for the year, and it's about a really interesting topic. It's all about ChatGPT, and like a year ago, just over a year ago, ChatGPT was launched, and it's only like now its first birthday, so I can say happy birthday ChatGPT. And this is not an actual cake that I created and took a photo of. This is an example of I asked ChatGPT to create a birthday cake picture for me so that I can use it in this presentation. So today's presentation is going to be fairly interactive, and it's going to be quite different from the presentations that I normally do. I can see some familiar names and faces here, and you've probably come to my sessions before. This one's a little bit different, and I'll explain why. But before we do that, let's just get started with, I'd like to know for like where you are in the room with ChatGPT. So if you can please. Okay, excellent. And thank you for sharing that. Thanks, folks, because today, as I said, is going to be quite a different kind of presentation from the ones that I normally run. So I do lots of online presentations, and this one's going to be slightly different, and I'll explain why, and I'll explain how. So I'm really pleased to see that most of the people in the room here are saying that they've either got no experience with ChatGPT, or they're just starting to crawl, or maybe they're walking with it. And the reason is because today is very much a demonstration. So rather than me doing a training session about how to use ChatGPT, think of this more like Steve Jobs launching the iPhone and speaking to a whole group of people about, hey, here's this brilliant new device that's going to change the world. So if you have no experience with ChatGPT, or you're crawling or walking, then you've come to the right place, because my goal here is to demonstrate some of the things that you can do with ChatGPT. Now, you might find that some of it's that you already know, and if you're a little bit more experienced, you'll find things that you've already done before, and that's okay. That's okay. But I'll also, during this session, I'm going to share with you some of its newest features, which you might or might not have come across. So that's my goal today. So it's very much a demonstration, and my rules of engagement are a little bit different from when I run sessions normally here. If you've come to some of my other sessions, they're a little bit different. So the first thing is, if you're really new to ChatGPT, what I'd like you to do is, like Steve Jobs demonstrating an iPhone, there might be some aha moments. You might gasp, you might go, wow, OMG, or WTF, or whatever. So look, just to do a little bit of a rehearsal of that, so I know what sort of reaction to get from the room. So if you've got your video on, can you give me your best visual impression of a gasp, aha, WTF, OMG, and I'll just see so I know what to look forward to. Okay, great. Thank you everyone for doing that. Okay, good. So I know what to look out for in the time that we've got here. The second thing is that there will definitely be time for you to ask me questions as we go along. So it's a bit better than a Steve Jobs demo where it's mostly him presenting from stage, and maybe he'll take a few media questions at the end, but we'll stop along the way and you can ask me questions as we go. I'm going to suggest that you ask me a specific kind of question so we can stay on track, but I'll get to that soon. And the third thing is, what I'd like you to get from this is some ideas about how you could use ChatGPT in your own life, your personal life or your professional life. So the sort of things I'm demonstrating, you might find that, you know what, this is not exactly what I do, but that's okay, because it won't be exactly, but you might get some ideas that you can then use yourself. Okay, just some other little rules about what we're going to do today. This is all about AI, and we're going to today focus on ChatGPT. As I said, it's been around for a year now, and there've been, since that really became mainstream, there have been some other public AI tools. Now, AI has been around for a long time. When I studied at uni, I did a computer science degree, and my thesis was about AI, and that was in the 1990s. So I've been following and watching AI since the 1900s. But ChatGPT last year really made it public. And since then, there have been other tools like Anthropic Claude and Bard and Bing and a whole bunch of other things. We're going to focus specifically today on ChatGPT. In fact, I saw this little infographic of hundreds, and actually there are now thousands of fantastic AI tools. But let's not try to cover them all. Today we'll focus on ChatGPT and the principles that you get from this, especially if you're new to it and understand what it can do. And they'll serve you really well if you go to some of the other tools. So people often ask me, like, how does this compare to bad or Bing? And that's okay. That's a good question to ask if you're more experienced. If you're just starting off, and don't try to run before you can crawl or walk, understand some of the principles here. The second thing, as I said, this is a demonstration, so you'll see ChatGPT in action. I'll be demonstrating some of its features. This is not really a teaching session, so if you ask me questions about what can it do, great, fantastic. Ask me, can you do this when you see me demonstrate this? This is not so much about how does it work. So it's like, again, like Steve Jobs, if he's demonstrating the iPhone, he wants questions like, oh, does this mean that you can now send email from your phone or take photos just with this same device? And he'll go, yes. But if you go, oh, how do I set the optical zoom so I get the best quality photo? That's not really what he's trying to present in this demo. Okay, so I'm going to kind of filter the questions a little bit, and I'm going to favor the questions which are asking about the features of ChatGPT. The other thing is, this is really important. So when I talk about AI, particularly to leaders, I talk about some of the things you need to be careful about, and privacy, confidentiality, security, and so on. Today is not about that. Even though that's really important, I want to focus on the things that it can do rather than the things that you should be cautious about when you're using it. Absolutely, when you start using it, especially in your organization, you need to make sure that some of those guardrails are in place and you're using it appropriately. But today, let's focus on what's possible. If you do want to work with me, I run sessions for leaders, for organizations, and also for teams about using AI. So I've got the domain name gihan.ai, so you can go there and you can find out about this is my keynote presentation, Leveraging AI. I've also got a masterclass which goes into some of the nitty-gritty how of what we're covering today, which is AI at work, and also, because this is really important, AI for leaders as well. So if you want to know some of the governance issues, some of the leadership issues around it, I can help you. There are other people who can as well, but I definitely can help you with that. Okay, you're probably thinking, all right, Gihan, get on with it. I get this. I'm not going to ask you questions about training. I'm not going to ask you about Claude and comparing it to ChatGPT. Let's get into it and let's do some work. So let me do my first demo here. And I'm going to start with something that I actually do every week. So, and I use ChatGPT to help me with this. So every week I record on video a blog. So it's about 2 to 5 minutes, and I record something that I think is of interest to people. Sometimes I do it here in the studio, just like this. Sometimes I have my trusty little what do you call it, selfie stick, and my phone on the end of it, and I record it out in the wild. But either way, I record it. So that's me. I don't get a little AI avatar to do that. But then what I do is get ChatGPT to help me do some of the heavy lifting around that, so that I convert that video that I've recorded into a blog post, into a LinkedIn post, into something that's going to go out in my newsletter. So that's the first thing that I'm going to demonstrate for you here with ChatGPT. Okay, so let me go to the ChatGPT window. As I said, I'm not trying to train you on how to use it, so I won't get into all the details of how this works, but let me just show you what I do. Okay, it says, how can I help you today? Well, I'm going to give you the transcript of a video blog. Wait until I do, then give me 20 attractive titles for it. Okay, so I'm telling it what I'm going to ask it. And then I've got the transcript done. You can actually get ChatGPT to do transcripts for you, but I've bought an AI tool that does transcripts a few years ago, so I'm going to use that one instead. So this particular blog post was written after I went to see Coldplay in concert here in Perth a few weeks ago, and Coldplay has a song called Viva la Vida, which of course they played in the concert. It's one of the most popular songs, but also the song is about disruption, and I've written about that in my book Disrupted a few years ago, and I talk about it in my presentations. So my video was about that. So here's a transcript which I just pasted in here. And it's literally just got a transcript, word for word transcript. And what I want ChatGPT now to do is to give me some suggestions on a title for that blog post. So all it's done is taken the transcript and it's going to come up with some titles. And you can see this is happening in real time here. And some of them talk about Coldplay, some of them don't, but it's basically given me some ideas. And if I say I don't like any of those, I can say give me 20 more, or I can do anything like that. I actually quite like Viva La Future. So every time I do it, it'll give me different answers. Let's say I'm going to use Viva La Future. Preparing a business for tomorrow, not really, but disruption in the digital age, that's not bad. Okay, so I'm going to go for Viva La Future, disruption in the digital age. So the next step, and I'm just pasting in, I would type normally, but well, just for time. So write a 1-paragraph summary and a 1-sentence summary. We're going to call it Viva La Future. We don't say understanding disruption, we'll just go disruption in the digital age. I don't need to choose any of the ones it's given me, but I like some of them that it has. And say, give me a paragraph describing it. Okay, the critical theme of disruption in the digital age. That's good, that's not a bad paragraph. It's a bit long. In fact, it's a bit long. Yep, okay, and so that's not bad. Okay, so I can use that if I want to. I can ask it more questions to get more details, or I can just take that and edit it the way that I want to. So yeah, like I don't mention music. So just in the summary, I don't want it to talk about the Coldplay bit. So now it'll just talk about business stuff, which is good to attract people in to read or watch the video. Okay, so now I've got it, and I can then copy and then paste it into wherever I want to. Okay, so you're welcome to ask me questions as we go, and I'll keep an eye on the chat room when we do this. So, okay, just keep going. The next thing I wanted to do is to take the transcript and convert it into an article. So the transcript's fine, but just verbatim, it doesn't look that great, and I want it to be a little bit more readable. So remove the timing marks, use Australian spelling and grammar, only change words if absolutely necessary, because I like to write my blog posts in my voice. Okay, so here we go. It's trying to keep as many of the words as possible. Okay, so one thing I don't like is I want this, I'm going to go shorter paragraphs, please. Okay, because I think that's easy to read when you've got more white space in there. Okay, just because we're demonstrating this here, I'm not going to try and refine it even further, but you can see what I can do. I can refine it as I go along. Okay, and it's mostly kept my wording in there. Yeah, take the taxi industry for example, highly regulated and controlled, then came an upstart like Uber. That's pretty much what I said when I recorded the video. You can get it to say, reword it, but I kind of like my voice, and I want my voice to come through. Okay, so that's not bad. I can copy and paste that. The last thing I'm going to do with this post, and then we'll stop for some questions, is I'm going to post that on my blog. I'm going to send it out to my newsletter readers. I also want to have a kind of more chatty post that I can put on LinkedIn, and my goal there is to encourage some comments on this post or on this topic. Okay, so modify it so it's suitable for an engaging LinkedIn post. Okay, so now this wording is not what I'd use. Hello, LinkedIn community, Gihan Pereira here. But that's okay, right? This is okay. All I want to do is have ChatGPT as a starting point for my post that I'm going to share on LinkedIn. I could have said, only give me one question so that people can only comment on one thing, but this is okay. It's given me some emojis, it's given me some hashtags. This is really good start for me to do a reasonable post on LinkedIn around this. Okay, so let's have a look at, I'm going to share with you, and before we get into some of the questions that are coming in, I'm going to share with you a couple of the principles of using ChatGPT. And again, remember, this is not about how, this is about what it can do. So the first thing is, as you can see, the way that you ask the questions or you prompt it is will make a difference. I've seen people who say, oh, I tried ChatGPT, it's completely useless because it was rubbish. I might as well just have used Google. And it turned out that they probably didn't ask the questions in the best way. Okay, so it does depend on how you ask, and you don't have to ask nicely. You don't have to say please and thank you, but you should learn how to ask the questions. And the second thing is that you may have noticed in this demonstration that I was having conversations with it. So it's a little bit different from other AI tools or other AI that you might already be using. So if you ask Siri, then that's using AI to interpret your audio, your voice, and then do some research and come back to you with an answer. And that's AI. But if you ask Siri or Google a question, then the answer that it gives back, if you're not happy with it, you have to ask a whole new question again, the way that you want to. So ChatGPT is a little bit different. You ask it you give it a prompt. That's what it's called. In other words, you ask it a question, it replies to you, and then the next thing you do is add to what you've already done, add to the conversation you're already having, exactly like you would be if you were working with talking to a human, talking to a person. They would understand that the next thing that you ask, if I say, oh, it's a bit too long, they know what you're talking about because we're part of that chat. So that's one of the big differences, and one of the things that has really amazed people when they first saw ChatGPT for the first time. The next thing is this, NEIGE. Can anyone in the chat does anyone have a guess what NEIGE might mean? Okay. Near enough is good enough. So I've seen people try to use ChatGPT to try and get a perfect answer. My goal and my general rule is to say 80% is good enough, and then I'll do the other 20% to edit it to get it to the way that I want to. You can try and have a longer conversation and try to refine it and say don't use these words or use this style, and generally the amount of work you put in to get the last 20% is more work than you would have if you just took it yourself and then edited it. So the other really important thing to do with ChatGPT is to treat it as an assistant, not an expert. So get it to do some of the heavy lifting for you. So for me, it was take this just word jumble, which is just a transcript, and convert it into an article that's okay. And if it's done the heavy lifting, I'm happy to then do the tiny bit of polishing around that's required. Okay, so always treat it as an assistant, not an expert. It also means that whatever you get back from it, you have to, if it's generating facts and knowledge, you need to double check it, because it's not an expert, but it's a really, really, really good assistant. Okay. Let me check questions coming in. Oh yeah, okay. Can you let me know whether you're using the Pro version? Yes, so ChatGPT has a paid and a free version, and I reckon the other thing you should do is pay for it. Absolutely, if you're getting started to it and with it and you've got no experience with it at all, by all means try the free version. It's why hundreds of millions of people have got access to this now. But if you want to really get good value from it and higher quality, the paid version is much better than the free version. It has a bigger database, it's more powerful, it tends to be generally gives you better access, so the paid people get jump to the head of the queue when things are busy. And the paid version, if you want to know, is $20 a month. So it's about, in Australian dollars, it's about $1 a day. And it's about the same as my KO subscription. Okay, so I reckon if when you start getting serious about it, then you should definitely get the paid version of ChatGPT. But by all means, start off with the free version. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions that are coming in. Okay, there's a couple of how questions in here, which I'm not necessarily going to go through, but like limits to the length of text. Yes, there is. There's always limits to everything that you're using. Lauren says not enough info given. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Lauren. Maybe that was relevant to something that I was talking about earlier. Oh, that's my guess. Okay, okay. Okay, let me do another. And as I said, we're going to stop at various points to do more of this. I'll do a demo and then I'll stop for questions, exactly like what we're doing here. And let's get a bit more creative now. So I've used ChatGPT. The demonstration I've shown you is where ChatGPT is taking some material I'm giving it and then modifying it. Let's now do something a little bit more, ask it to be a little bit more creative. Okay, so the example I'm going to do is we'll ask ChatGPT to help us with some marketing for a new product that we're launching. So I would like somebody in the chat room, if you could please just volunteer. What kind of industry are you in? Let me tell you, let me show you, just to give you an idea of where we're heading here. We're going to say we're in an XXX business, we're launching a new product, selling whatever, okay? And our main market demographic is this. And I'm going to pick an example of somebody's, like in a, ideally it's going to be something that's a consumer facing business, because that'll be relevant to everyone here in the room, but it applies just as well if you're talking about business to business. I think the first one that I saw come in was from Lauren and it said travel. Okay, and in fact I saw somebody else in the chat saying a group tour to China, travel. Okay, good. Okay, let's use that one. Okay, so we're a travel business launching a new product, selling group tours to China. Our main market demographic, wow, look, let's go Gen Z, looking for new experiences in a fast growing country. Okay, so now we're going to ask ChatGPT to be really creative here and give us some interesting product names. Okay, fun and creative challenge. Here we go. Silk Road, Mystic Yangtze, Forbidden City. Okay, somebody in the travel industry, I'd say there's lots of people who said travel here. What's another market that you might be targeting instead of Gen Zs? So not destination, but a market, like a disability sector. Okay, great. See that one? Oh, I'm going to choose retirees. I'm just trying to keep this as broad as possible, so we'll say retirees. Okay, and you can see some of the names it's generating are a little bit are quite different. So now we're talking about tranquility and peace journeys and reflections. Okay, so now these names are things that ChatGPT has created itself. It hasn't gone to the internet and found a tour to China with this name. It's taken the information that I've asked it to combine and generate these creative names. Okay, so that's another really interesting thing about ChatGPT, because people say to me, oh, it's going to stop us from being creative because it's just going to, like, everyone's going to use it and we won't have any creativity and innovation. And I think that's not true. It's actually going to spark some innovation and creativity. So let's go with number 16 here, Bamboo Breeze Travels. Okay, and I'm now going to say to ChatGPT, let's choose Bamboo, oh, just go number 16. Our unique selling proposition is, what is it? What is it that we know? So we, okay, all our board and senior, just making this up, right? Senior leadership team have experience in the seniors aged care sector. Who knows? All right. Okay, Bamboo Breeze Travels is the one we're choosing, and now we've got that as a, oh, I was actually going to ask it to write a thing, but it's got ahead of me, sorry. But that's okay. So here are some suggestions that align with the USB. Okay, so it's kind of done what I was going to ask it for. Well, it's given me benefits here, okay, but the next step is this. I'm going to get it to write a 300-word blurb suitable for the website. Okay, and again, I think if you're in the travel industry, this was your target market and you had this as a product, you might say this is 60, 70, 80% good enough, but then we want to take it and then tailor it further. And you can either tailor it by asking ChatGPT to tailor it, or you can take what it's giving you and then do more with it. Okay, so you can do the final editing. Let's actually ask it for a suitable image to use at the top of this page. So you're now going to go to graphic designer and say, here's a blurb. And by the way, you could ask it in fact for 5 images descriptions if you want, and say, pick the best one that fits our brand. Okay, and in fact, let's go create this image. Okay, image creation takes a little bit longer because it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words, so it takes a little bit longer to generate images. This is one of the newer features of ChatGPT. A few months ago, this wasn't possible. You had to go to another AI tool to create images, but now that's been built into ChatGPT. Okay, so that's the image that is created. If you don't like it, you can ask it to change it in certain ways, like what would we do? Show their faces. Okay, and he's saying now these are guardrails that are built into this because it won't show faces. It's the image creator in the free version. So I'm not going to get into what the difference between the free and the pro version because I'm just demonstrating here. But what he's saying here is saying there's some limitations on what I can do, and this might be what you get. So again, you can change this, right? You can go back to the original image, which I kind of liked because it's got those more of a tourist photo, and you could ask it to do that. And just one last thing, we're going to do a 90-second video promoting it, so we'll ask ChatGPT for help in designing the video. Okay, it won't create the video for us, but it'll give us the run sheet for the run for a video. Okay, Sarah's saying, can it source images rather than creating them? So, and generally what it'll do, if you ask it for an image, it'll create it for you, but you can upload your own images to it as well. And it's actually quite good with uploading your own images. In fact, I want to demonstrate that a little bit later. Okay, but you can see here, here's a script for a video, including examples of images, voiceover narration, and text for that video. Okay, so you can use ChatGPT again for doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to doing things like marketing. And the reason I'm demonstrating this one specifically is because I want to just demonstrate that you can use it for really creative purposes. Okay, so any other questions coming in? Is image creator, is the picture generation? Okay, so again, I won't get into free versus paid because this is just a demonstration rather than trying to train you in which one to use. But I'm using the paid version here. Okay, so it's in there. Can you create logos? It can. It absolutely can. You could ask it to create a logo based on some brand. So you can give it a brand identity in whatever way you choose and ask it to generate some logos. And yeah, absolutely you can do that. Okay, I'm just waiting to see if other questions are coming in. Maria says this is amazing. Good, thank you. So this is what I want, right? So my goal today is not to teach you what it can do or teach you how to do it, but show you what's possible. And when you talk about technology, there was possibly PC, the personal computer, way back, and then we had the internet, and then we had smartphones, and then we had social media, and then now we have this generative AI, and they're all things that change the world. Now, I'm not saying that they're the only things that change the world, but if you talk about technology that really changed the world, it is this, what we've got now with ChatGPT, is just as big as when we had social media and everybody could publish, just as big as when we got smartphones and everybody has a computer in their pocket or their purse. It's just as big as when we had the access to the internet, where you connect to computers on the other side of the world instantly. It's just as big as when we had personal computers, and instead of them being these big massive machines in offices that only big companies could afford, and suddenly everybody got access to it. So this is as big as that. Okay. Does it have a tutorial section? You can always ask ChatGPT. So Jenna's question has a tutorials question. Does it have a tutorial? You can always ask ChatGPT for help. So you can say, I work in the travel industry and I'm doing group tours to China. What should I ask you to help me build a marketing campaign for it? Okay, it will actually help you. It'll help you understand how to use it better, and I've used it for that. Yes, and Maria says, I've used it for written info, but didn't know about the images that are now new. Are there any copyright issues? So again, we won't get into the governance and leadership stuff. These are really important questions to ask, but that's not part of the demo here. Can you use it to draft workflow diagrams? Yes, you can. You can. I will say, because we're talking about what its capabilities are, there's another feature of the paid version of ChatGPT has a thing called plugins. So you can get these, they're like apps on your phone, and they enhance the capability of the ChatGPT built in. So it's like, imagine if your phone, like say your iPhone, only came with the apps that Apple creates. It's still really powerful. You've still got a camera, photo gallery. You can still do email, texts, all those sort of things, right? All the basic stuff is there, but the real power in our smartphones is all the apps that you can get, either free or paid, to enhance the power. So for example, for travel, there's an Expedia, which is a massive travel company, has an app. So you can, they call it plugins, has a plugin. So you can include that plugin, and then you can ask ChatGPT the sort of things that you would normally go to the Expedia website and ask, or it'll have access to that knowledge. So you can absolutely enhance the power of it. Can it analyze data in an Excel spreadsheet? Absolutely, it can. It can do that. Let me show you, not quite exactly that same thing that you've just asked, Sarah, but let's look at images, because I really like what it's doing with the way that it allows you, or the way it understands images. And again, this is relatively new as far as ChatGPT goes. So let me do a few images that I've kind of picked at random from my photo gallery. Is, like you go to those in the olden days when somebody goes on a holiday, they come back with a whole bunch of slides in a slide carousel, and then they bore you for 3 hours over, what was it, cheese and white wine, talking about their holiday. So I'm not going to do exactly that, but I've picked a few examples that I'm going to use for demonstrating ChatGPT. I didn't take these pictures for use on ChatGPT. I didn't even take them for use on social media. These are just photos that I took on my camera. So this is the first one. This is when we went to Coldplay here in Perth, and this is a photo of the stadium while they were playing. This one here is a photo that I just took because I was in the gym early on a Sunday morning. I was the only person in the gym. So that first, the Coldplay one, we'll ask ChatGPT just to explain it, whatever you can get from that. This one here, you can see it's quite a cluttered photo, and we'll ask ChatGPT to see if it can identify the equipment in the gym. This photo here, this is a food photo. I like posting positive reviews of restaurants on Google. So Nikki and I went to this beautiful restaurant, a beautiful meal at this restaurant, Manuka Wood-Fired Kitchen in Perth, if anyone's interested. And there's this beautiful prawn dish. So we'll ask ChatGPT for a recipe for that prawn dish. Okay, so let's do that now. So we're going to jump back into ChatGPT and have a conversation with it. But this time, instead of me providing text, I'm going to use photos. Okay, so Claire says, love the restaurant. We've heard about it for a long time, Claire, and this was the first time that we decided to go to it, and we weren't at all disappointed. So all I'm going to do here is just drag a photo onto here. That's the Coldplay photo. I'll just go, what is this? See what it comes up with. Right? I'm not going to give it any context. We'll just see what it says. Okay, again, because it's working with images rather than text, it's a bit slower. Okay, because again, it is a bit slow. Okay, the image of a large concert, vibrant purple lights, maybe appear to be holding up lights, contributing to a spectacular sea of twinkles across the stands. Yeah, and in fact, we weren't holding up lights. We had these fancy wristbands, which were synchronized, so they would change color as during the performance, and it was pretty clever the way that Coldplay does that. So that's good. It's got a pretty good idea of what this is. Actually, here's an experiment. Let's see if we tell it is Coldplay. Let's see if it says anything else. Yeah, okay. So it just said, great, congratulations for going to see Coldplay, essentially. Okay, but so that's not bad, right? It's just taken this fairly indistinct photo and it understands what it is. Yeah, okay, so let's do another one. Let's do the gym one. So this is a really cluttered photo, and let's see what it says about it. Okay, so now something like this sometimes happens, right? When you're using ChatGPT, it'll make a mistake, or it'll just stop for no reason at all. You can try it again. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it means that there are lots of people using it, so you don't get to the front of the queue. But all you need to do is try it again. Okay, so let's see what it says here. And the last time I did this, but by the way, every time you do this, it doesn't necessarily give you exactly the same answer. And the last time I did this, it gave some very specific and detailed information. Okay, now it's saying I've got a network error. Okay, so we'll try it again. And this is not unusual. So if you've got a very, very tight deadline, it means that you probably shouldn't be using ChatGPT 5 minutes before your deadline. But see, that third time lucky, right? So I'm glad it actually failed a couple of times, because you can see it in real life, like in the wild. And yeah, like, okay, so it's even got the cardio machines, which are actually like hidden way back here, behind here, but it was even able to recognize those. So it's done a pretty good job. It's done a pretty good job with a very cluttered photo to interpret what's in the photo. Let's do the last one. Whoops, you can't see this there. So I just said, here's a photo. How can I make this? I can see, okay, so here we go. It says it doesn't know exactly the recipe that they used, but here's a possible recipe. In fact, given that this might be part of what we bring to Christmas lunch, let's go on a barbecue. Okay, and then it actually does modify the recipe, so it's appropriate for cooking on the barbecue. Yeah, prepare the barbecue and so on. Okay, so you can see examples of this is, in this case, ChatGPT for working with images. And again, it's relatively new that it's become as smart as this with images. But okay, okay, let me just go to questions. Okay, so Lauren says, I've just been having a play, asked for Elf on the Shelf ideas. Karen, since you told it was a photo of Coldplay, if somebody else posted a similar photo, will it suggest that it's Coldplay? Yes, quite possibly. So ChatGPT, and this is true of AI in general, it keeps learning. So it's always learning. Now, it's not real-time learning. So what it does is it's built up this database, and currently it's up to date till about April 2023. and it will only work on that database. But the next version of the database will have everybody's posted Coldplay photos included in it. So it will then, it's kind of getting smarter because it's getting more data. It's also getting data from the way that I interact with it. So when I interact, I can say, I like that response, or I don't like that response. There's a thumbs up and thumbs down. And if you give it a thumbs up, which you should do if you get a good response, it's actually training it to understand that next time around, that's a good sort of response. It's exactly the way that we humans learn, right? As toddlers, if you're crossing the road, then there's safe way and not safe way to do it. And if you look both ways, then mum or dad's probably going to go, oh, that's really good, Gihan, thank you, that's exactly what you should be doing. And if you try to run across, they might shout at you and go, get back, that's dangerous. This is exactly what you're doing. This is how we learn. We don't learn by knowing exactly, like as toddlers, we don't learn by understanding about cars and traffic and danger. We learn by seeing things over, or experiencing things over and over again, and either getting rewarded or penalized for them. So this is how AI tools learn nowadays. Michelle says, can you give it multiple photos to edit? I don't know, but it's worth trying. Janine says, can I put together a flyer? Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that with ChatGPT. In fact, there are other AI tools, and I said we won't go into the details of them, so I won't do details, but I'll also say that there are tools like Canva, and a lot of these really popular tools are now building AI into them. So with Canva now, it's got a fantastic AI capabilities built in, so you can use it for doing those sort of things like flyers. So as I said, ChatGPT is not the only one. It's the only one we're going to talk about today, but you can use, but there are others as well. Okay. I can see Tracy Ann saying, thank you for this. It's helped me to feel a little bit more comfortable about it. Great. And Sandra saying, great session. Wow. Yeah, that's right. And Sandra, I know, has been in one of my AI for leadership sessions as well. So yeah, and this is exactly what it is, right? So I want today to be like a wow experience of me showcasing and showing off some of the capabilities of AI in general, but ChatGPT specifically. Okay, let's see what else people are saying. Can I provide feedback and assessment from an external tender offer and demonstrated? Yeah, you can. Okay, so you absolutely can. I did say I'm not going to go into leadership and governance issues today, but one thing is that for the reason that I said earlier, what you're uploading to ChatGPT becomes part of its training material for the next version. Just be careful of what you upload. So you've got to make sure you're not uploading private, confidential things. For example, if I uploaded a picture of me and Nikki at the restaurant and I said, who are these people? It will say, oh, sorry, we can't identify individual people, but so that's it, it's been programmed to have those guardrails, but there's some other guardrails that you upload stuff and it can use it for its training. Jamie says, can you give it information to put together graphs or reports? You can use it for creating graphs, yes. Victoria says, I have so many ideas running through my head to try out. Great. Yvonne says, yes, wow. Good. And I know Yvonne's somebody who's used it already. Rose says, this is great. Thanks for sharing. Good. Thank you. Deborah. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you later, Deborah, about the correct web page address. So ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI. So if you go to openai.com, then it'll take you to the ChatGPT page. The other thing is that it used to be AI.com, and then Elon Musk bought that and moved it somewhere else. So it's not AI.com anymore. And the reason I'm just saying that is just kind of as a passing comment, but also to say that a lot of this is changing super, super fast. So some of the things that I'm demonstrating today weren't available. Well, they were available yesterday, but they weren't available 3 months ago. Okay, so this is moving really quickly. So my goal here is to give you and like open your eyes to what's possible right now, and then rather than you taking that and assuming that's what it's going to be, it's changing really, really fast. Okay, I have got another thing I can demo for you. Again, this is another really new feature of ChatGPT, is this idea of building your own GPT. So I won't demonstrate it, but I will show you what I mean by that. Building it is going to take too long for us to demonstrate, but let me show you what I mean. So I'm just going to, in the background, go back to. Okay, so remember this very first demo that I showed you. Okay, which is where I said I'm going to give you a transcript and then create titles, pick a title, now create one-page summary, one-line summary. So you saw the way I did that, and this is the way I used to do it until a month ago. I would give it the transcript, and then I had all these things ready to cut and paste the instructions, and I cut and paste, and then it would do the next step, cut and paste, do the next step, cut and paste, do the next step. You can now build your own GPTs, so you can build a set of instructions. So if we go back to the other example that we did, China tours for Gen Z. So in the near future, so ChatGPT, OpenAI has launched this feature already. They haven't quite made it fully public yet, but their idea is that what you will be able to do very soon, it was meant to be last month, but very soon, is that you'll be able to go to like an app store. It's different from the plugin store, but like a set of GPT store. And you can say, oh, you know what, in my business, I need a marketer who can help me create campaigns for new products. And you look around and you find one that does that. And then for these China tours, instead of you having to know what questions to ask, like we did here, like we said, we're a travel business, the GPT that's been created by a marketer will ask you the questions in the right order. So it'll ask you, like, what's your product name? Who's your target demographic? What's your brand identity? Give me your logo. Which particular segment of the market are you trying to reach? And then it'll give you titles, and then it'll say, what do you want next? Like, do you want a website text, or do you want a series of Instagram posts to use as a marketing campaign, or do you want scripts for videos and so on? So that's coming soon. Okay, so this idea of building your own GPT, it's available. So I have built my own GPT for doing the thing that I do at this every week, which is turning my video log into multiple things. But what's coming is that next year I would be able to, if I want to, publish that into the GPT store, and then other people could have access to that. There's another thing that, again, I won't demonstrate this here because just because of time, but the other thing that you can do with ChatGPT even now is upload your own content. So I can upload my book Disrupted, I can upload Disruption by Design and The Future of Leadership, so my 3 main books talking about as a futurist, and then I can ask ChatGPT questions about my book. Okay, now, why would I ask it questions about my book? Well, I probably wouldn't, but I can make it public so other people can ask questions about my expertise. Okay, so yeah, we don't have time to demonstrate that here today, but essentially you can set it up so that, and many organizations are doing this now, they're saying, we've got all this expertise in all our documents and PowerPoint presentations and books that we've written and reports that we've written. How can we make that available to the public using a nice, simple AI kind of chatbot kind of thing? ChatGPT and other tools are being used for that at the moment. Oh yeah, so Catherine's saying, yeah, we have our own ChatGPT at Woodside. Yeah, so Catherine, so when you say you have your own one, that could be one of two things. It could be a license that everyone can use it. And are you saying also, if you don't mind me, well, I'll ask the question and you can decide whether to answer or not. Some organizations are using it to work on, they're trained on their internal documents of the organization. Other people have just got a ChatGPT license for everybody in the organization. And that just means that everyone can use it without having to buy their own license for it. And there's a combination of the two. Okay. All right, I'm going to finish up here. So any other questions first? Any questions? Let me just say, do you have any questions? And I'll give you some examples of people I'll give you some people to follow. These are the people that I follow. Any other questions? Let's see if anything's coming up. Okay, so people are saying, helpful, expanded my knowledge, great. Feel a bit more comfortable, good. if you give it information, can you create PowerPoint presentations? Yes, you can. You can. It's not as good as there's some other tools that will do PowerPoint presentations for you. So it's not as good as some of those other tools. Incredibly helpful. May I share this recording with others in my organization? Absolutely. So everyone who's registered, whether or not you're here, will get access to the recording. And absolutely, it'll just go on a public Vimeo page and you can share that with other people as well. My goal here, as I said, is to make people aware of it. And I realize this, some people who are here today were at a session that I ran a few weeks ago talking about AI for people in organizations, for PAs and executive assistants. And afterwards, some people said, this is great. You've inspired me to be an AI champion in my team. And there are other people who said, what is this ChatGPT? I still haven't seen it, right? And that's okay, right? Like, it's been around for a year. There's no law that says you have to have used it. But once you see it, once you see its possibilities, it gives you more, just more awareness of how you can use it in your, in your professional, personal role. Sounds like what it can do is limitless. Yes, it's not quite limitless, but it's actually, it has some limits. But yes, it's pretty good, right? And it is revolutionary and it is disruptive. And disruption doesn't have to be bad. But I think it's just as disruptive as, say, something like the launch of smartphones. Okay, so that was disruptive and it's had some good and bad consequences. I am going to give you some people to follow in addition to me. So these are people who I think are really leaders in the AI space, and AI in terms of AI for us, for ordinary people, as opposed to the people who are building AI tools and governments who are thinking about how to regulate them. These are not. These are people who have really learned and teaching a lot about ChatGPT. These are people actually, they've got some free stuff, but they've got some paid stuff. And these are people who I also respect enough that I respect their content and their material, that I pay for their services. So Sam McLean is like, she's an so her background is in real estate, but she's really got into in the last year tools like ChatGPT and others. And she publishes regular updates on tips on how to use especially ChatGPT. And even though it's specifically for real estate, the tips and ideas are so relevant for everybody else. It's so worthwhile that she's been somebody that I follow regularly, and she publishes multiple times a week with tips. Joanna Penn is again somebody that she's been one of my go-to futurists for more than 10 years now. She's an expert, she's an author, and she also talks about writing and publishing. And I don't do a lot of book publishing, but again, Jo's stuff is so good, and she's really like at the cutting edge, leading edge of AI and other fantastic technology that she's definitely worth following. And again, you can be a subscriber using the Patreon service. Now, the other person I'm going to follow is somebody I know personally, Donna McGeorge, and she's somebody, she's a productivity expert out in Melbourne. She's written this book called The ChatGPT Revolution, which she published earlier this year. And she said that I can offer a free copy of the book to somebody in the room. So somebody who asked her, and I'm deciding because I get to choose how to do that, and I'm going to pick somebody who asked a question really early. So Sarah, if you're still here, Sarah Backer, and if you're in Australia, because you can only send the books out in Australia, if you're here, great. Can you just send me a private, like unless you want to give your postal address to everybody, just send me a private in the chat room, just to me. Give me a postal address, and I'll pass it on to Donna, so you'll get a copy of the book, The ChatGPT Revolution. It's a great book. It's a great book. It's one of the first that I bought about ChatGPT because I really respect Donna's knowledge and expertise. Okay, so Sarah, if you do that sometime before we finish. So in the last couple of minutes, I also want to say, of course, you should be following me. And also, as I said again, if you want to work with me, then I do this work. I've got a keynote presentation, which is suitable for all audiences about leveraging AI. I've got then, if you want to get into the more practical stuff, the AI at Work Masterclass, which goes into a lot of the how-to of what we talked about today. And I see some questions here as well about AI for managers. So I've got this AI for leaders, which is all about the leadership and governance issues around AI. So sometimes people combine them. I'm doing this for a school at the start of the term 1 school year when they're doing professional development, running an AI, the masterclass for staff first about how they can use it, how teaching staff can use it in schools, followed up by, for the executive leadership team, the masterclass about AI for leaders. It doesn't have to be done that way. Sometimes we can do them separately, no problem at all with that. Okay, I've got one last thing to finish off with. It's a bit of a puzzle. Some people will have seen me do this before because I've talked about this in the past. So I was thinking about doing the book giveaway for the first person who saw gave me the correct answer to this, but actually because Sarah, you asked me a question early on, I'm giving it to you. Let me do this puzzle, and if you know the answer to the puzzle, just type it in the chat as soon as I ask the question. There's a pond, and the pond is empty except for one lily in the pond. And what happens is that overnight the lily splits in two. So the next day, if you go to the pond, there are 2 lilies. The next day, each of them splits in 2. So now you've got 4. And the next day, 8 and 16, 32, and so on. The pond is full on day 28. So my question for you, and you can answer this in the chat, when is it half full? When is it half full? Okay, good. Andrew says 27, Greg says 27, Susan says 27. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the answer, right? 27. So for people who didn't follow the logic, so 28 days is full. It doubles every day. So the day before that, it was half full, and then it doubles to be full. Now, that's a nice little puzzle. I think I remember reading it in primary school. So now you've got something to talk about with your family and friends at Christmas dinner, Christmas lunch, but that's not my point here. If you go back a few more days, the previous day, it was a quarter full, then an 8th, and then a 16th. If you go back to the start of that week, and remember this is week 4, there have been 3 weeks even before that, but even at the start of week 4, it was less than 2% full. And all the growth happened in that last week. Excuse me. So this is what's happening with our world. This is exponential growth. Our world is increasingly exponential. Social media and social connections mean that we're connected in networks, and networks grow exponentially. Deadly viruses travel around the world and they grow exponentially, which is why we had to have some of the restrictions we had a few years ago. AI is growing exponentially because, going back to that question about people posting lots of Coldplay photos, the AI is learning from that. ChatGPT is learning from that because there's lots of people contributing to it. In fact, I think this curve with AI is going to be even steeper than a normal exponential curve because we've got the exponential growth of the technology as well as the exponential growth of people using the technology. So you might see a few lilies in the pond and you think, oh, that's okay. I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to do anything. Just beware. Right? Because we're at the start and we're already on this exponential growth curve. So my last message, which I often end my presentations with, is to say start before you're ready. Don't wait for all your ducks to line up in a row. Don't wait till you're not busy anymore. Don't wait until we have time to put this into our strategic plan. Start now because the world won't wait for you. Thank you everyone for coming along. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your engagement and interaction. I'd love to connect with you. If you want to connect with me, all my contact details are at gihanperera.com. And in the meantime, have a safe and happy break at the end of the year and all the best for 2024. I'll see you in the future.